tube on the front is labeled Garbage of New York City. This is 100% authentic, hand-picked from the fertile streets of New York, New York. And it has the website, nycgarbage.com. On the top, I put all these are, once I put the garbage in, I sealed the top shut with a solvent that melts the plastic together. So the only way to get in is if you actually break them open. And then I have a sticker on top that says this garbage was picked, April 1st, 2007 by Justin Genak. And then on the bottom, I sign and number each one. So this one in the regular series is number 694. I grew up originally in Connecticut.
Okay.
Like a couple hours from here, right between Foxwoods and Mohegan Sun Casino, like 5 minutes from both of them. But I moved here in '98 to go to School of Visual Arts, and then went there for 4 years, and I've lived there ever since. So.
Okay.
And I've been, doing the advertising thing for the past few years, and then now I kind of quit that and just do that on the side and focus on garbage. Initially, when I started, I went out on the street and I had made 10 just to see if this would work. So I went out to Times Square and set up shop, and didn't really get any takers at first. And I was hawking them, had a whole spiel down and had a little cardboard box that had garbage for sale spray painted on the front of it with a little stool. And finally, after a whole day, I was out on 42nd Street at 10 o'clock at night, and some guy from Ecuador who didn't speak, he spoke 2 words of English. He came up and he kind of got the idea and he bought it, and he was my first customer. I was like, that's pretty cool. I was just like, where are you from? He's like, Ecuador. And that was it. That's all we said to each other, but he bought one. And it was that's pretty cool. And then within a couple days, I had sold them all. So I was like, oh, that kind of gave me some hope that this could work. And then I made a website, and now I only sell them on the website. And it's kind of let the blogosphere, and I can't believe I just used that word, but let blogs and the press kind of fuel it, and then go from there. So now it's all sold on nycgarbage.com. Yeah, I've sold them to over 45 states and over 25 countries, and just sold my 1,000th cube a couple months ago.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So I could have never imagined it, but as long as people keep buying it, I'm going to keep selling them. So it's worked out well so far.
Do you ever have people stop you, ask what you're doing, or do you think they just assume you're cleaning up the streets?
I think people assume that, but I've had some people stop me and they're like, "Oh, what are you doing? Are you doing that to be a good Samaritan?" I'm like, "Yeah, I sell it." And they're like, "What?" I explain the idea to them, and I think it's kind of cool. So. And I actually had someone stop me once. I was down on Canal Street picking up trash, and some guy was outside a party. It was a Saturday night. He's kind of drunk, and he's just like, "Wait, are you the guy that sells garbage?" Well, I'm very picky about my trash. I don't pick up anything that's wet or gross or smelly because I'm kind of a wuss, and I have a bad gag reflex. So I only pick up dry trash, and I try to find stuff that's going to be, kind of interesting colors, interesting shapes, unique things. I love finding things that are actually from people. So if I can find a handwritten note or photographs, it tells a little bit more of a story than other stuff that I find like coffee cups. But actually, every piece of trash tells a story. So it's kind of cool seeing them all together.
Do you ever get special requests for items?
Yeah, sometimes they get weird though. People want to use condoms, and I'm I'm not even gonna go out looking for that. That's disgusting. Although I have found some and they were dry, so I put them in the queue. In college, I took a class on the archaeology of New York City, and my teacher taught us all about material culture and how you learn a lot by what people throw away. And whenever they do build a new building in the city, they have to let archaeologists come to the site first and excavate it, and they look to see if there's any remnants or if it was a burial ground or whatever. But they always can find in the layers different garbage, and by what it is, whether it's a little pipe from the 18th century or whatever, they could tell what era that was from just by the trash. And especially since New York was kind of built on trash, you find a lot of interesting things. So it's kind of like little time capsules. One thing you'll notice is I don't dig through the garbage cans.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that. That's where you draw your line?
Yeah, I draw my line. There's already people that go through the garbage cans, and I don't want to cut in their action. They might get really pissed. So I leave that to everybody else. There's plenty of trash on the sidewalks and on the streets, so I'll go crazy in there. They can have the garbage cans.
So obviously some people view litter in New York City as a problem. I'm guessing that you don't feel that way, or do you still have hopes for it to be cleaner?
It is a problem, but I think it's kind of unavoidable. We were having this discussion once about why New York City has more garbage than Chicago. And someone said in Chicago they have alleys, so they put all their garbage in the alleys. But in New York we don't have alleys, so it all gets put on the street. And if bags get ripped open or whatever, it all just kind of goes everywhere. So I think that's part of the problem. And It's kind of good though, because if New York cleans up its act, I'm kind of out of business. So
right.
I'm not too worried though.